Get used to disappointing women. That is the subject of today's content. This comes from a channel called Psych Hacks. If you guys haven't checked it out, I'm going to link this in the description down below. He's a very brilliant doctor on there, and he has extremely relevant information, especially for couples or people who are looking to get married, etc., etc. But I get a lot of emails. And messages about respect within a marriage, especially coming from the wife's angle. She doesn't respect me. She talks to me bad. She does this. She does that. Most oftentimes that is a result of something you are doing or not doing. And the doctor here covers it brilliantly. So without further ado, I want to get right into this so I don't keep yapping along. Inshallah, we'll go ahead and get started.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is Get Used to Disappointing Women. The ability to disappoint women is a skill, and it's a vital skill that men must learn in order to have successful relationships with women. Now, disappointing women can be very difficult for young guys in particular, because not only do they typically experience a strong pull to give women what they want, but they also generally do not have a great deal of options with women. This lack of optionality engenders a scarcity mentality, and this scarcity mentality leads them to erroneously believe that if they don't say yes to what their women want all of the time, then their refusal is going to jeopardize the foundational basis of the relationship. And I have a couple of important responses to this perspective. First and foremost, it is important to disappoint women because the more a woman likes you, the more that she is interested in you, the more she's going to want more of you. Women don't love like men do. A woman's love is more consumptive. A woman in love wants everything. She wants all of your time, all of your attention. And if she could, she would crawl inside of your head so she could know all your thoughts and feelings. You see this kind of reaction in miniature when women get around babies, like, "Oh, you're so cute, I could just eat you up." Yeah, it's like, In as many different ways as possible, a woman in love wants to put you inside of her. So that's consumptive feminine love. Now, as I've said before, wanting is free. That is, it costs the wanter absolutely nothing to want things, but it costs you, the giver, something to give things. This asymmetry means that you are under no obligation to give someone what they want simply as a consequence of their wanting it. And this is great news, because if this weren't true, it would lead to some devastating consequences. For instance, if you were actually foolish enough to give a woman all of your time and attention, all the time and attention that she wanted from you, then slowly but surely, you will have stripped yourself of a great deal of the things that initially made you attractive to her. This means that, paradoxically, giving a woman everything that she wants actually results in her losing attraction for you.
Yeah, because what happens in this scenario is they lose respect for you. And it's like that for anybody. If you have a neighbor that you continually have to give things to, they all the time coming and asking you for this, that, and the other thing, right? Number one, it's going to get on your nerves. But number two, the more that you give them in that regard, the more they will want to continue to take from you. Okay? And that's not the case all of the time with your neighbor. But when it comes to relationships and healthy relationships, it is. You have to, as a man, learn to draw boundaries in a good way. These are not boundaries that you're unreasonable with, okay? I have spent my time and energy drawing unreasonable boundaries as a young man. Eventually, you learn what the good doctor here is talking about, and you learn to implement it into your day-to-day life. As a result of that, the attraction can stay for you. Okay, basically what he's referring to is what we call now modern day simps. Simps, okay? And simping ain't pimping, big dog. Simping ain't pimping. You're going to have to learn to say no.
And if that attraction dips too low, she will likely terminate the relationship, leaving you with nothing.
Yes.
As by then, you will have voluntarily surrendered all the other aspects of your life, your friends, your hobbies, your personal development, your side hustles, your side pieces, in the service of her consumptive
No side pieces in Islam. Disregard that.
love. To maintain a relationship with a woman, you need to maintain a high level of attraction. And to maintain a high level of attraction, you need to continue to be the person that the woman fell in love with. I understand that it's flattering that a woman would be so interested in you that she would want so much of you, and that it might be distressing to see her disappointed in her wanting, but you cannot allow her desire for you to diminish your lifestyle. Why? Because your lifestyle as it currently is obviously sufficient to raise her attraction to a fever pitch. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, my dude. Giving up who you are and how you choose to live for a woman will not only mean that you will lose the thing that you surrender, but that you will move in the direction of losing the woman as well. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from this message, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also hit the super thanks button, those 3 dots in the lower right hand corner, and tip me in proportion to the value you believe you've received from this episode, because it's your donations that make all of this happen, and I really appreciate your support.
And if you're not tipping the good doctor, be sure and tip me, inshallah. Also, hit the like and subscribe button for me if you haven't already. Join the channel membership. Join the channel. Alhamdulillah.
Now, another thing to keep in mind with respect to this issue is that women are complicated. Like all people, they want to get what they want. But on another level, they also don't want to get what they want. How does this work? Look, if a woman succeeds in getting what she wants from you too often, whether she's aware of it or not, she's going to start to feel that she is more powerful than you.
And most of the time, she does not realize that she's feeling it. These are not conscious choices that a woman is making, okay? So for you sisters out there who are watching this and you're going, oh, BS, 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 we don't think like that, yada, yada. You guys don't even realize it, okay? This happens on a subconscious level or an unconscious level, however you want to phrase that. This happens unconsciously or subconsciously or whatever. You start to lose respect and you don't even realize it. It's like a baby or a kid. Your kid cries for these toys all year long for Christmas. They want it for Christmas. They want it, oh, please for my birthday. Please for Christmas. Please for Eid. Whatever the holiday is, right, that you celebrate. Brothers and sisters better not be celebrating Christmas. But you get the point. And then eventually you get them that toy. You give them these things that they want all the time. And what do they do with it? They play with it for 5 minutes and they disregard it. They disregard it. And they lose respect for you, because then they believe that they can come to you and get whatever they want by throwing their tantrums, etc., etc. Same is in a marriage or relationship.
And that is going to start to make her feel unsafe. Why? Because if a man can't hold the line with her, who really isn't all that big of a threat, how is he going to be able to hold the line with someone else who might legitimately be threatening? A man who can appropriately hold the line against her consumptive love communicates that he is centered in his masculine purpose, that he can tolerate her distress at being disappointed, and that he is more powerful than she is, which actually allows her to relax into the relationship. This is because women's need to feel safe often leads them to do some pretty counterintuitive things, like shacking up with dangerous bad boys or provoking men to fight with them.
Yeah.
Women,
even though they don't consider the complications or the consequences of either one of those terrible, terrible choices. I see this all of the time. all of the time. It's hilarious. And you see really good women get turned into really bad women. Really good girls get turned into really bad girls because they end up with the Chad, the man who has nothing to offer but his seed. That's it. And then they end up with a baby or two by some knucklehead, know nothing, good for nothing. And they wonder why, where are all the good men at? But this is the type of man that they go for because they seek to be protected and to feel safe, even though it is completely, as he said, counterintuitive and counterproductive to the goal, because the person that they are actually seeking to be with makes them anything other than safe. So they end up continuing the search, and they end up with another Chad, or they end up with a man who is feminized, so to speak, and has no ability to draw boundaries. They stay married or in their relationship for a year or two or 3 or 4 or 5 years in, and then what happens is they end up having to run away from that out of sheer dissatisfaction, because they're just not satisfied with the situation whatsoever, because they have a simp. They have somebody that they can walk over, throw a temper tantrum, and get their way, etc., etc. Men have to draw boundaries as men. You have to be willing to say, this is what I'm okay with. If you cross this boundary, this is the consequence. And you have to actually stick to that consequence. Otherwise, you are a pushover. You are no longer masculine. You're no longer a man. You then become a woman who is wishy-washy, and you change your mind at the first hint of any type of threat.
Men like to test how much they can get away with, which means that they will sometimes even ask for unreasonable things just to see if you have the spine to turn them down. Mm-hmm. By disappointing women, you communicate that you are maintaining frame, which means that she can relax into her feminine because she is not driving the ship. And I would highly, highly encourage men to disappoint their women sooner as opposed to later. In a normal, healthy relationship, saying no to a request or not being available or not being interested does not lead to the end of the relationship. Think about it. If your buddy turns down your invitation to go to the baseball game with you, what's your response? Probably something like, hey, no problem, maybe next time.
Yep.
And then you move on with your life. That is an appropriate response to disappointment. However, it is unfortunately the case that some women, especially more immature women, can do a lot of inappropriate things when disappointed. Things like throw a temper tantrum, or sulk in despondency, or keep score in bitterness, or withdraw affection, etc.
Yeah.
And
cold shoulder technique, starting arguments over nothing, things of that nature. These are things that women, you sisters, really have to be aware of your own actions. I assume if you're a sister and you're watching this, that your goal is to find a husband and keep a husband, right? It shouldn't just be to find a husband. It should also be to keep a husband. Brothers, if you're watching this, I assume that your goal is either to keep your wife or to find a wife and keep a wife. And as a result of that, you should really consider these things. Sisters, stop throwing temper tantrums. It does not benefit you, and it does not benefit him. He feels disrespected. He feels hopeless. He feels, at this point, what's the use? The result's going to be the same. If your husband comes to you and he has an issue with something that's going on, you need to take him seriously and take into consideration what it is he's bringing to you. Don't puff up. Don't throw a temper tantrum. Don't turn the tide and gaslight him and make him think that he's crazy about something that you are in fact doing. If you're doing this, just admit to it. And if you wish to keep your marriage, apologize and move forward. There has to be a certain level of emotional maturity for a relationship to thrive.
And don't you think it would be important to figure out if you're dealing with this type of woman early on in the relationship? It's better to learn this in the first 5 weeks than in the first 5 months, or, God help you, in the first 5 years. And this is because continuing on in a relationship with such a woman basically means that you'll need to constantly conform to her expectations of reality or suffer the consequences.
That's correct.
Which ain't worth it. And here's one final thing to keep in mind, men. A lot of you are nervous about disappointing your women because you are afraid that doing so will make her less interested in having a relationship with you. Do me a favor. Think about a time when you've asked a woman for something and she's said no. As a consequence of that rejection, did you like her more or did you like her less?
More.
You probably liked her more. To use an extreme example, when your ex broke up with you, you were not suddenly divested of all the positive feelings that you had of her. If anything, her rejection made you want to pursue more and try harder. It increased your attraction because she was fundamentally making herself scarcer to you. Do you see? If rejection and disappointment increase your attraction when a woman does it, it will increase a woman's attraction when you do it. She is not different from you in this respect.
I will add one caveat to that. Do not do this just as a game. Okay, that's not what the good doctor here is telling us. What he's telling us is he's reminding us that to disappoint your woman is not a game ender for you. Okay, it's not a game ender to say no. It's not a game ender to be firm about a few things. All right, you have to understand as a man what is appropriate and what is not, especially as in Islam you are expected to be the leader, the provider, the protector. Okay, these are things, if you are currently married, you should implement them immediately. And the thing is in the beginning, if you're just newly married, in the beginning you need to have these discussions right from the jump so that you don't end up in a terrible situation with terrible consequences. That's a horrible, resenting marriage where you end up hating each other. Okay? You can both have these conversations in a healthy way in the beginning. If you're already in a marriage like this and you are trying to close a door that's already been open, it's much, much harder. However, it can be done. It can be done. You can reach out to me. I have coaching available as well. You guys know this. My email is trinitytruth07@gmail.com. Let's finish up here. He's almost finished.
Saying no, rejection, disappointment. These things are like spices. Food without spice is bland. Food with too much spice is inedible. There is little nutritional content. So just like we like some spice on our food, we like some spice in our relationships. And disappointment is one such spice, as it tends to increase the attraction of whomever is being disappointed. Whether this should or should not be the case is irrelevant, because that's the way it is. What do you think? Does this... I'm Dr. Orion Taraban.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and cut it with that. Alhamdulillah. So, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm really interested to see what brothers and sisters have to say about this, especially as far as respect is concerned and the consequences of giving in to everything, every whim and desire that your woman has. You could take this with a grain of salt, or you could take it and apply it and actually make some positive changes in your life. It's up to you, brothers and sisters. As always, be sure to hit the like and the subscribe button, share the content with anybody who you think may find it beneficial. Don't forget to like and subscribe, inshallah. Till next time, my brothers and my sisters, thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And remember, there's one God and only one God, and He alone is worthy of worship.